Hi, Shane here from Clever Logger. I thought I'd just in this release note take a bit of time to talk about Strifer 5 and some of the problems that we're experiencing as we're releasing Clever Logger here in Australia and in New Zealand. The majority of our customers are pharmacies or GPs. We are basically just monitoring a stack of vaccines in Australia, which means that for us, Strifer 5 is an essential document. The big problem we've got is that Strifer 5 is out of date. It was out of date the moment it was released, and in fact they knew it was out of date as they were writing it. And so that's causing us a little bit of problems, and it's unfortunately causing a lot of you problems. So what I'm going to do is basically just show you a couple snippets from Strifer 5 to basically highlight what the problems are and what you're experiencing, and why the information that you're getting from the people who are stepping in and doing the audits on you is fundamentally just wrong. So here we go. On the Clever Logger website, we've actually got a post which is all about do we comply with Strifer 5? And rest assured, we blow Strifer 5 out of the water. So what Strifer 5 is fundamentally about is trying to make sure that your vaccines are kept between 2 degrees and 8 degrees and notifying your staff that there's a problem as soon as possible. And so that's why they have the twice daily min-max check of your fridge. It's not for the sake of reporting, it's to minimize the gap between a problem occurring, your fridge getting too hot or too cold, and your staff knowing about it so that they can stop distributing vaccines that may have been compromised. How Clever Logger works is within minutes of your fridge becoming too hot or too cold, we will notify you. So this entire intent of making sure vaccines are protected, we are the gold standard. So we're not waiting until the end of the day to tell you that there's a disaster. We are telling you the moment it starts to occur to stop a disaster from occurring. So up front, rest assured, we blow Strifer 5 out of the water in terms of its requirements and its intent. But here's the problem. When you actually look at Strifer 5, on page 22, it's got this beautiful clause which basically says advances in technology, that is, Clever Logger, are producing more features in data loggers. The information in this section refers to basic models. So Strifer 5, the stuff that they've got written here doesn't apply to us. They're saying up front, this is only for basic models. To be really clear, a little bit further, it talks about automated temperature monitoring systems. Automated temperature monitoring systems allow immunisation service providers to access real-time temperature monitoring data from a connected device such as a computer or phone. Sounds exactly like Clever Logger. That's what we are. The temperature readings do not need to be downloaded to a computer. These systems use wireless monitoring, we use Bluetooth, to transmit continuous data to a web server. In the event of a cold chain breach, an alert is sent by text message or email to the registered user. And in fact, we send a notification and we send an email to as many users as you need. So this is us. These systems are used more frequently in larger facilities to monitor multiple refrigerators in real time, i.e. these systems cost so much that it's only large organisations that can afford them, but can be used in small facilities for 24-hour access to information. And thanks to Clever Logger being the price it is, we are now basically rolling out into every single GP, every single pharmacy in Australia. So whereas this was intentionally saying, hey, it's not a big problem because it only applies to the top end of the town, it's now a problem because we're rolling it out into every single pharmacy and every single GP. So this is now your problem, it's our problem, and so that's why I'm making this video. But here's the solution. Contact your state or territory health department for further information about monitoring requirements. So it's quite simple. All we have to do is go to our state health department to get an answer. There's only one problem. There is no one in any state health department who will give a ruling as to how wireless temperature loggers are to be used. Instead, what happens is it's being pushed down to the local area to make decisions. So what that means is that we can have two pharmacies or two GPs that are a block away in different areas and having different rules being applied to them. And at the moment, I'm in communication with both pharmacy organisations and GP organisations, just trying to get consistent rulings, and it's not easy. So instead of having a state level policy on this, it's being pushed down to the local areas. But to make matters worse, what's happening is that at the local area, what they're saying is that you have to comply with Strive for 5. And Strive for 5 requires twice daily downloading of the log. And what we're saying is, well, no, Strive for 5 doesn't require that. I've just demonstrated the two clauses that are saying it does not apply. And so therefore we do comply with Strive for 5 because we're exempt from Strive for 5. So therefore, well, wait a minute. And so this is the problem we're up against. Now, my intent of making this video is actually, it's a call for help. What I'd love is for someone who's watching this video to say, actually, this is the person you need to talk to, or, you know, this is the committee or whatever. Because what I'm trying to do is move this up to saying, actually, the future for vaccine monitoring is totally automated. And the problem is that the decisions that are being made at the moment by default, or the non-decisions that are being made, are becoming the decisions for the future and locking people into what they do or don't have to do. So what we're trying to do is to say, look, if you've got a wireless monitoring system that is immediately notifying you of a breach, then why do you have to have the twice daily check? But we realise that there are limitations in wireless systems. So I don't think that just having a wireless temperature system is a good enough solution. But I think if you've got features in it like we will automatically remind you and remind you and remind you that there's a problem is an essential feature in a wireless system. I also think that it's important that it has the ability to start telling other people that there's a problem to make sure that that's happening. And a new feature that we're putting in with Clever Logger is one where we will send a test email every now and then. And if you don't reply to that test email, then we know that there's a problem, and we'll continue to do so and escalate it until we know that your emails are working, just to make sure that they're getting through. So these are all the sorts of things that we think a wireless system should be doing on top of just logging, to make sure that you don't have to do the twice daily check. But if you tick those boxes, mate, I think the best thing that you can be doing with your time is looking after patients, looking after customers. I think you're better off injecting people with vaccines than wasting your time twice a day checking a fully automated system that is telling you that everything's fine by the very nature of what it does. So that's my take. Just one last thing that I will say is that there is a clause in Strive for 5 that talks about, and I'm just trying to track it down, I haven't mentioned it here, talks about alarm systems. So connecting your logger to remotely monitored alarm systems. Just keep in mind that is not what Clever Logger is. So this is where you can connect your vaccine fridge to an alarm dialer that goes to your security system that will say you've got a problem. And the problem with that solution is all it's doing is telling you whether or not there's a problem or not. It's not telling you the current temperature. It's not giving you the log. It's just an instant relay of you've got a problem. And the problem with that system is you can't tell whether or not the relay is working or not working. So if it's jammed and you've got a problem, it won't make it through to the alarm system. And so there's no indicator that you've got a problem or not. So therefore, you need to do the twice daily check. We are not part of that. So we're an automated system, and so contact your state health department, and good luck with that. Having said that, there is a committee meeting coming up soon at the federal level talking about this sort of stuff, so hopefully there will be a bit of an impact, but I just want to educate you guys to saying we blow Strifa 5 out of the water in terms of what's required, but there's clauses in Strifa 5 that blatantly say it does not apply when you've got a system as good as Cleverlogger. So that's it. That's my lament. That's my woe. This is my rant. If you can help, I'd love to hear from you. Thanks a lot.